Oh dear. It's already now.
Good evening, everyone. Good evening, and thank you so much for joining us today. The Real Table Talk. We're back! Yay! This is our first show for 2021, ladies. Our
Wow.
first show. Wow. It is so nice to be back with my wonderful queens, Karen Cruz, Marcia Hilton. Would you like to introduce yourself, ladies?
I'm Karen Cruz. I'm a young people's life coach, and I am the founder and director of Flourished Minds. Hello.
Welcome.
And I am Marcia Hilton, and I am a transformational integrative coach, and I am the founder and director of Life Inspired Wellness.
Wow. Well, welcome, ladies, and Happy New Year to you both. It's nice to have you. We're going to introduce our special guest in a few moments. But first, let me just tell you what's going to happen today. Karen Cruz is going to be answering any of your questions, what you've got. She's going to be telling us. So please leave us a comment. Don't be shy. Anything what you would like to ask, just put a comment in there. Thank you so much. And thank you so much for tuning in. We really appreciate it. So let me tell you about our guest, what we've got today. Sharon Watson MBE. Woo-hoo! Wow! Sharon, can I just say, first of all, before I introduce you officially, thank you so much for coming on this platform. We really appreciate it. We really, really do. So thank you for giving up your time and being here to share your story with us.
Mm.
So let me tell you a little bit about Sharon because we have got lots of questions for you today, Sharon. Oh my goodness. Wow. So Sharon Watson MBE, she's also the CEO and principal of the Northern School Contemporary Dance. Sharon has been awarded, like I said, the MBE in the New York Honours List 2021. Formerly the longest standing director of Phoenix Dance Theatre, Sharon receives an award of her service of dance. Whilst at Phoenix, Sharon created one of the most timely productions in the company over 40 years history, the Windrush movement of the people. Did I say that right? Let me say that again. Windrush movement of the people, which traced the journey of the first Caribbean migrants to the UK and their experiences. Her leadership resulted in the company receiving a Black British Theatre Award in 2019 for the Best Dance Production, for reworking of the Recite of Springs, and she is the recipient and the multiple accolades in the fields of both business and the arts. Please welcome our special guest today, Sharon Watson MBE. Woo-hoo! Thank you so much, Sharon. Wow, yes, we salute you.
Massively.
Oh my goodness.
Thank you. Thank
Wow.
you.
Before you even start, Leslie, I'm just going to put this out there. Sharon kind of knows that I follow her or not. Well, we linked on lots of social media platforms. And I think she kind of knows I've got a bit of a girl crush. I'm just saying it just right now. That's it done.
I think we all have.
I'm all right with that, Karen.
Excellent. So, Sharon, where do we begin on your journey? Can we go right to the beginning? Because we need to start right at the beginning. And I know you're from Leeds and you're currently living in Leeds. What made you get into dance? Why dance?
Well,
I don't actually know if it was, by the way, thank you so much. This is an absolute pleasure to be in this room this evening. So thank you for the invitation, and also acknowledging my accolade, which I think is also something I'm sure we'll come on to a little later. But I don't know if I found dance. I think dance found me, if I'm being honest. You know, I went to an ordinary secondary school in Leeds. I'm one of 8, so it wasn't as if I was anything particular. There wasn't anything particular about me as a youngster. I just followed my sister's footsteps, and I was the next in line to go to the middle school, actually, Hare Hills Middle School. And you know, there was a phenomenal teacher there, a PE teacher at that, who just said that these young people have another way to express themselves, and asked that dance could be put on the curriculum, on the national curriculum. And it was, and fortunate enough for me, I loved it. I was good at it. And I think at the age of 9, not many people know what they want to do. But I think when I came home after my first dance lesson and said to my mum, when I'm 16, I'm going off to London to be a professional dancer. Yeah. And both my mum and dad just says, okay, you've been inspired. That's lovely. We'll talk about it when you're older. Well, 16 came and I was gone, with my sister as well. So it was the two of us that disappeared, and I've never really looked back since.
Why London?
Because Leeds didn't actually have a vocational training school, and most of the successful dancers, in fact, nearly 99% of the dancers that left Leeds went to London School of Contemporary Dance to get a professional training. That's where it was happening. We had an affiliation, I guess, with the company, London Contemporary Dance Theatre, and the school itself. So we were really well connected, but it was the place to be if you wanted to be a professional dancer of quality. And I went at 16, which is also kind of unheard of as well. So yeah. I was sort of breaking boundaries at that age, which is something I keep reflecting on, because my daughter says to me, well, Mum, you did it at 16. Oh.
Yeah, I was just going to say, because that's making me a little bit nervous, because my daughter's 16 in 6 months' time. I'm like, you ain't going to London.
I've literally just told my son, as he's looking for his university now, and he's got Manchester, Newcastle, and he's got one for London. He's looking at London, and I said, you do know if you go to London, I'm moving to London with you. I said, no, Daniel, I'm serious. I will be packing my bags and moving to London. So London's not an option for you, mate.
Can I just ask you as well about Hare Hills, because I went to Hare Hills Middle and I knew Nadine Senior. So she was the PE teacher. What was it about her? What was it that she gave you that brought on your passion for dance? What was it?
Yeah.
I think sometimes when trying to answer that question, there are so many different things that I think Nadine encompassed. The fact that actually, when she saw talent, she knew how to nurture it.
Right.
And by nurturing that talent in the right way, it builds your confidence. When you've got confidence, you don't mind trying things and failing. You don't mind trying things and not succeeding. You don't mind trying things and actually being very successful. Mm-hmm. So she didn't put the barriers on. She didn't stop you from trying. Yeah. When I said to Nadine, I went to Parklands Girls' School at the time, after leaving Hare Hills, and of course it was a rough time, because Seacroft, if you know, Leeds was not the best for people of colour. It was just a pretty challenging time for me. And at the age of 15, you do work experience, and everyone was saying, well, you know, you can do this. And I said, I actually want to go to London. I want to figure out whether I want to be a student. And my teacher then just says, well, nobody's ever done that before. Mm. And I said, yeah, but I just want to figure it out. So I had this conversation with Nadine, and she just went, well, that's what we'll do. Yeah. Wow. And that's exactly what we did. Yeah. So I spent 3 weeks in London at the age of 15, figuring out whether I wanted to be a student or not. So she had the tenacity. And I think that example for me was about actually, there's always an opportunity to be the first at something. Yeah. And that I've taken that with me for kind of forever, really. I can do something that others haven't done yet, and it's okay to try and make that happen.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So, Sharon, you've got quite a few in the audience here. Everyone's loving you, and Zena's saying, I think she's got a bit of a girl crush, but I got in there first. And she just asked, she says, is your sister also a professional dancer? And she said, did you go to London together? But I think you did say you went to London together. So is your sister a professional dancer?
She is. My sister, I take my hat off to her, because it was her inspiration, if I'm being fair, that when we left, we started out in Hare Hills Middle School together, and when she was 16, she went to work with the Manskys on Chapeltown Road. I don't know if you know the
Did
solicitors.
you? Yeah,
She
yeah.
did, yeah. She spent 2 years working with them and still dancing with us in the youth group. And I just said, Dee, why don't you just come to London with me? Because I was still in the flow of things. And she went, yeah, why not? She's a great dancer. So we started out in London together. She's 2.5 years older than I am. And our careers have ebbed and flowed together. So we trained together. The teachers couldn't tell us apart at times.
Wow.
And a story that happened was at the edge, when we had graduated in our year 3, where we weren't allowed to go and do auditions, but we did. We went off again, breaking the rules. We went off and did this audition. And it was a massive audition in our building. And it came down to 2 dancers that were left in the room. And it was my sister and I. And honestly, the buzz around the building, apparently, and we were in the studio, of course, the buzz was like, oh my God, does he know what he's doing? Does he know what he's doing? And then at the end of the audition, he couldn't make his mind up. And he just said, well, okay, can I take your name and number and I'll call you? I've got to think about this. So when I gave him my name, it was Sharon Donaldson at the time and number. And then my sister said, Dawn Donaldson. And he literally stopped in his tracks and just went, I haven't, have I? And I went, yes, you have. You put the 2 sisters in and we were up against each other. And actually that night, the 2 of us on the phone, it was, no, you take the job. No, you take the job. No, actually, I've got to go, Sharon. I've got a phone call. And as I was being called by the director, she was getting a call from another director that had offered her a job at the same time. So
Wow.
it was, I mean, intervention is an interesting thing, but it happened. And yeah, we just ended up then having separate careers, coming back together again. We worked together in different, and at Phoenix in 1989, we were invited back as the first females back into Phoenix Dance Theatre. She's now a lecturer at Leeds City College. She's written the course for dance there, and she's just doing an amazing.
Wow, fantastic.
Brilliant. That's a fantastic story.
Yeah. So you talk about Phoenix. So you was one of the black women who worked with all black men and travelled from that period of 1989. Tell us about that, Sharon.
Oh my God, I keep laughing because believe me, some of you hear people talk about banter in football clubs and you kind of go, yeah, but believe me, those years in Phoenix as a performer were absolutely phenomenal. They were priceless.
Yeah.
We traveled the world. There was 4 of us, myself, my sister, Celine, then Thomas, now Derek, and Pam Johnson, who is now working with City Council, Leeds City Council in the cultural department. And we had the most phenomenal time in terms of, we were only supposed to be there for 6 months because they didn't have the funding to make it any longer. And after 6 months, it was just like, well, we'll just hang about. The guys went off to North Africa and on their tour, and the ladies went, well, let's just stay here and do some creative work. And we did, and we never left.
Wow.
They ended up funding us and keeping the women on, and we had a phenomenal career. Just the amazing opportunities we've had to be the first of the moment with these guys who were absolutely amazing. 6 male dancers who have pretty much already done, in fact, it had changed in terms of the original to where we came in, but just an unbelievable moment in history that will never be repeated again.
Yeah. Wow, that's amazing.
So you've done a lot of firsts.
Absolutely.
Kind of.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and again, it's only on reflection that you suddenly realize, oh, actually, yeah, that's really quite amazing that actually Phoenix. I had no idea, obviously, Phoenix. In fact, tell a lie, we weren't the first. I wasn't the first, because when Phoenix originally started, there was my sister and another female who danced with them, but never became part of the company. So they already had an in, but they weren't officially Phoenix dancers. Right. Until it became official. Then yes, we became the first official Phoenix dancers that actually were contracted and given a salary.
Awesome.
That's fantastic.
Nice.
That's brilliant.
So this is why I have hashtag role model every time I talk about Sharon. Everywhere I go, hashtag role model.
So Phoenix Company, what was that building before? Because it hasn't always been there. Sorry, the arts. It hasn't always been there, has it? Was it called something else before? The dance school?
Where Phoenix are now or where I am?
No, in Chapeltown. What's the dance school?
The Northern School of Contemporary Dance has always been the Northern School of Contemporary Dance. Yeah. So Nadine.
Sorry, go ahead.
Sorry, yeah. So when Nadine decided that, when I left at 16, she said actually that she was not going to send any more of her students to London. Not all of them didn't survive. London was pretty rough for youngsters, and I would imagine for Black and Asian dancers, it's probably twice as challenging. So she decided that she wasn't going to send any more to London, but she was going to have the school here in Leeds. And 2 years later, she did. She got the Northern School of Contemporary Dance up. She got the grant. It started out at Sacred Heart School. So they were working in a hall, in a gym, until she got the synagogue on Chapeltown Road, which initially only had 2 studios in it. And then she applied for a lottery, did a lot of fundraising, and I think it was 15 million that she got for the building through the lottery grant. And that was it. She part 2 of the school was developed, built, and is still functioning.
Wow, that's fantastic.
That's a story, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely.
I remember when all that was happening. I remember sort of like community meetings and things, and I remember going there with my mum actually. Yeah, down in Chapeltown. Yeah. So it was really good. Actually, one of the things that I wanted to ask you actually about the Northern, in terms of, like now, sometimes, I mean, when I say now, it's up in the past, and when we're in Leeds, and sometimes you can go up and down Chapeltown and forget that it's even there, and I'm just wondering, in terms of community and in terms of access for the community, in terms of, inclusion and diversity, what is there anything that's going to change?
You've been very polite, Marcia. You've been incredibly polite. The part of my job as a Black female leader is to make sure that the community knows that that building is accessible, for the building to be accessible and to be open. I think for far too long, we've taken the opportunity to be placed in Chapeltown to understand that actually we the students that come into Chapeltown don't understand the area always. They don't understand what the facilities are and don't understand why the school was there. So, we've under new leadership, our doors are open. I've been trying to get out to the community. I was at Mahogany Market just a few weeks ago over Christmas, buying my goods and thinking, actually, we can host this in our building. Why not? Over the summer, we can be supported to the Leeds West Indian Carnival that passes our door every single year. And it's time for our doors to be open to see what happens there. The relationship needs to be built. And I do believe that I am the right leader to make that, to build a relationship with the community and to just express to them how important it is that we actually, one, continue to develop the school, 2, that we change the kind of, we build on the success of what we have, and that our youngsters see that this is a place for them too, that they can have a future that looks like mine, or not, if they want to do even more things than is possible than I could ever dream of. But we are open to be a partner in our community. And for me, that's my biggest message for all of those that are listening right now. You know where to find me. I'm available. I'm open. I want to have a conversation. But I also want the community to know that actually we do care about what happens in the location.
Wow.
That is fantastic.
That's amazing.
So beautiful.
Awesome.
And I remember the early days of Northern School, and we had this amazing facility in Chapeltown, and in the paper it said, Leeds Northern Contemporary School of Dance in Hare Hills, and we all went, no, it's not Hare Hills, it is in Chapeltown. Off Chapeltown Road, please.
Yeah.
Don't take it away from us.
Territorial, it's important because when you think about the time, I mean, it's 30 odd years old and it's had a successful career. It's got an international reputation. Now, why wouldn't we want Chapeltown to be a destination? Exactly. Why not? And there's so much more that we can do in terms of the creativity. I'm not saying I can do everything, but in terms of our creativity, we understand music, we understand dance, we understand art, we understand people, we understand sharing, we understand community. So actually, we should be championing that a lot more. And then we have the opportunity to do so. So, I'll hold on to my job for as long as I can and make sure that actually people are coming through the doors.
Yeah. Well, you've got some massive supporters here, not just us 3, but so Zena's saying you are definitely the right leader to do this, Sharon. And Paula's saying, that's wicked. I'm sure you don't quite like that, but that's my version of it. I can absolutely fantastic.
Yeah, absolutely. So I know Nadine was fearless. Are you fearless, Sharon? Are you fearless? Are you that woman?
Do you know what is interesting? So whilst I was at Phoenix and kind of thinking, I need to do more. I need to change what it is that I do as an artistic director. the role I play is bigger than just commissioning work. And Nadine was on our board for some time. And I said, Nadine, for Phoenix, I want a school. I want to be educating young kids that look like me, that can do what I've done. But I need a school to nurture that. I need to home them and I need to see them on a day-to-day basis. And she just said to me, so what's stopping you? That was it. She literally just said, what is stopping you? And so at the time I went and spoke to the Northern School and I says, listen, I'm really interested in developing a new course. I'm interested in developing what it is that would help me to feed productions. You can see the Windrush poster behind me.
Yeah.
I need dancers that can dance this kind of work, that understands the narrative and understands that actually, as much as having a multicultural organization, but there is something about the Blackness in terms of Phoenix and its position and its history that has to continue. And if we're not having the dancers coming through to feed the company, we lose the opportunity to produce works like Windrush.
Yeah.
And I wanted it to, I mean, Northern as a feeder school is absolutely, that's exactly how it should be, to be able to feed us with dancers. And I'm not excluding the white dancers or anybody else for that matter, but we have to celebrate the Blackness that has actually been marginalized for so long. So to bring them through to be able to do this is one of the things that I went to the Northern and spoke to my predecessor and the current team and says, let's do this. Lo and behold, I didn't expect to be in the chair how many years later, kind of going, right, we've got to get this done.
Wow. So I can see why you got this award. You said, what, there's 50, at least women to watch in 2010. Yeah, tell us about that award.
2010 was actually probably 9 months into my job as Phoenix Artistic Director. So I took the job in 2009. I had previously done the Claw Leadership, which was a bespoke leadership course for leadership. But the interesting thing about that, and I will always say it was probably the most challenging time of my career, because I was coming from a practitioner base. So I was the wing woman for the previous artistic director. And as the wing woman, he would, Darshan Singh Buller, who's from Leeds, who went to Harehalls, a famous, amazing artist. He just used to say, oh, Sharon runs the company. Sharon runs the company. Ask Sharon, she runs the company. But I didn't have the title. I didn't have the accolades. And there was one area of work that I didn't really run. And that was actually the vision. So in a way, I also wanted to be able to have the whole gambit of knowledge. And I 3 times the opportunity to do the Claw Leadership came my way. And the 3rd time I went, actually, this is my moment. I'm going. I have to take the opportunity. I don't know if it'll ever come back to me. And so I took a sabbatical from Phoenix in 2006 and went and did the leadership course. And that interview process, again, the whole thing was just, I haven't done many interviews, to be fair, but that one, I still remember it. And I sat there thinking, I'm going to be working with people that are already chief execs, already directors. And I'm coming from a practice-based experience to wanting to take up leadership. If they can't do it for me, then nobody else can do it for me. And, they took me on board and it was like, okay, so now it's happening. Now I have to understand how it all works. So yeah, I kind of felt that it was necessary for me to make sure that I was the equivalent of any other artistic director, that I understood finance, that I understood budgets, I understood marketing and PR, that I understood, politics with a small p, I understood the networking, I understood governance, all these areas that I wanted to delve into to make sure that I was credible. And so I spent the time doing that.
Fabulous.
Fantastic.
Oh, can you see why she's my girl crush?
The awards don't stop there, because
No.
in 2017 you got another award for was that Paul McCartney? Yeah.
Oh my goodness. Do you know what's really interesting? And I do sometimes, I kind of look at the kind of my email signature and think, I'd like to meet that woman, because I kind of pinch myself to kind of think that actually there are people out there that are paying attention. And for me, that's quite a phenomenal thing, which is, I would say to anyone, you don't do it for the accolades. You don't do it because you think, I'm somebody's going to notice. You get on with it because either you believe in it or you can make a difference. And so to get an award from Paul McCartney, I was like, well, what is it that you've seen in me that you feel that I can be a champion for the work that we're doing in creativity? And he says, everything you're doing is a champion in creativity. And that's what we noticed. So, you know, he's in another city as well. So he's obviously looking on a national scale. And I just think it was really quite a phenomenal thing to want to meet him, to meet a few others that he brought to the table as well. And to think, wow, you don't have to have a name that resonates, you know, in a particular way, but actually it's the work that impacts. And yeah, it was a very proud moment for me there.
Wow, no, that's fantastic.
That's unbelievable.
Brilliant.
It's funny, it's kind of linked. I don't know if you watched The Voice last night, but there was a young girl on there who was a busker in Sheffield, I think. And she did her thing, and then one of the judges said, "Oh my God, I actually follow you on TikTok. I've actually got a video of you on my phone." And you're like you said, you just don't know who's watching.
Yeah.
And she's just a young northern lass doing her thing, busking on the high street. And yet there's a celebrity, you know, a well-known celebrity who's got her video on her phone. I'm like, geez, who's now going to be her coach?
Yeah.
So fantastic. So Zena says, how did you find the time to do all of that, raise a family and do a doctorate?
Yeah.
You're laughing.
I'm laughing because my mum said to me, when I was doing the Claw leadership, I had to take a secondment, and I did that in Newcastle. But I didn't want to move to Newcastle for 3 months. You do a secondment and you kind of get assigned to another cultural organisation. So I said I was going to commute for 3 days, and my mum would say to me, I'd get on the last train at about 11:30, so I'd be getting in at, you know, something to 1 a.m, and then back again. And mum just went, why? And I said, Mum, because this is the moment where I either have to make a difference or it's not going to happen for me. And she says, you're getting on this train at this time of the night. And I said, yeah, I'll be fine. I will be fine. I will make sure that everything I can do to protect myself and, you know, and look after myself, I will make sure I do. And at the same time, my husband is he's my wingman. He's been my wingman for so long, where he says, I know what makes you fly. You know, we have 2 children. They were young when I was doing all of that. And my family as well, they keep me very grounded. I mean, the thing is, I got this MBE and they just went, oh, congratulations, Mum, that's really wonderful. Now, what's for dinner? Hold on a minute. Yeah, okay, what's for dinner? So they really do keep me grounded. And I think that support of understanding what I do is also part of what they understand. They understand how it's important for me to function. Therefore, they fall into line in a sense, where my husband will hold on to a very strong aspect of family life and family activity. But you make a lot of sacrifices.
Yeah.
You make a lot of sacrifices, and it's not always visible, the sacrifices that you make in order to make a transition. But you know, when you feel confident in yourself that you're doing it, because it might be 10 years down the line that you might see the rewards, then you know that's why you're doing it. So I would say to anyone that's thinking about it, just don't stop. Don't stop. And the doctorate was interesting because actually, you know, it's an honorary doctorate, so I didn't actually go into kind of sitting there and writing a thesis of how many thousands of words and etc. But even that, when I spoke to the Leeds Beckett, who were the awardees of the doctorate, it's what did you see in me to give this award? And to ask that question, when I became the chair of Leeds 2023, I had a couple of council officers come and speak to me and ask whether I'd be the chair. Would I put my hat in the ring? And I thought, actually, you're coming to ask a female, a Black female at that, and a Black female that's running a contemporary dance company. What's your agenda?
Wow.
Interesting. And
Yeah.
that's where I met you, at your honorary doctorate. That was where we met. So Damien had invited me because of the work I'd done at Leeds Beckett. And then I heard you speak, and I was like, oh, I'm in love. Not in a really strange way. But again, you know, for me, and it's that thing you said about being grounded. Whenever I've heard you speak on the radio years ago, and I saw you at the university, and I've seen you since. And despite all that you've achieved, which is absolutely amazing, it's just that humbleness about you. And you've got a, I am going to sound really, don't get freaked out by me, but you know, I just think you're really classy, you're gracious, you're graceful, and you've achieved so much, but you've not lost your humility and who you are. And that's hard to see sometimes. You know, people kind of, they get very grand and they forget where they've come from, where you don't seem to have lost any of that. And I just wonder how you've managed to stay so normal, really. Although you're so formidable.
Cara, that's really lovely of you to say that. I mean, and I know it's, and I'm going to say this without knowing who's out in the audience, but I know there are people that don't actually like what I do. It's just one of those things.
Yeah.
Well, you think about it, you know, if you're actually seen to be making success doesn't always sit palatable with people that perhaps don't understand how it's happening. It's not done by favors. None of this is done by favors. It's a graft. It really is a graft. But I had nothing to start with. You know, I have my family in the sense that, you know, my mother went out to work. I saw her when my father came home from work, and they literally did a tag team between them with the 8 kids. That's how our household. My sister went off to London to be a nurse and, you know, was very supportive. It was inspiring to see that a family member was beginning to move out and you could change things. And, you know, some of my family I didn't meet until I was 14 when they were traveling over from Jamaica. So I have a very, very, very humble beginning. And I think it's the kind of conversation you have now with your parents that says, we had to make your school uniform. This is what we had to do to survive. And we are now a little further forward. And I said to my kids, now I've been doing all of this work, so you can now step into the next phase of whatever it is that you want to do. And, you know, I do have a lot of friends. I mean, Marcia, I talk a lot to your brother. That is just about keeping a reality check on things and making sure that you don't suddenly become such a highfalutin and kind of up your own, so that people suddenly, well, actually, who on earth does she think she is? Well, right now, the question is, I think I am a leader and I feel that I am someone that can impact and change. And that for me is my driver, not the successes of what happens externally or the accolades or the fact that actually I know outwardly facing, I have a connectivity that sometimes is about the honesty and the integrity. And if I use that as my driver, then I very often feel very comfortable to have conversations where it's not always easy. So because I've come from very little and I appreciate what I have, I know that I could actually impact with a lot.
Wow. Wow. Sharon, thank you.
So, although I'm trying to keep this quite healthy, I did get a slight tinge of jealousy. So how do you know Marcia, please?
Long time, hair heels. My brother, he was part of Phoenix as well. So yeah, long dance history. We've got history, haven't we?
Yeah,
So
Martin was my dancing partner for a while. And I was his rehearsal director at times. And I also invited him into Phoenix just before I departed to be my rehearsal director for 3 months.
Brilliant.
Wow, okay. And you danced with my brother, I think, Dwight Powell as well?
Yes. Yeah.
Oh, I'm not liking this. I have to say, I need to dance with Sharon.
Yeah, Dwight was one of the successes as well. And from Hair Hills, yeah. And yeah, he went on to do, he danced with us at Phoenix, done some amazing roles. And obviously he's now abroad doing wonderful things. And I'm jealous of his language skills. He's just phenomenal. What an intellect.
Yeah,
So yeah.
Yeah, he's fluent Danish. He's just like amazing. Yeah, amazing.
I mean, he speaks about 5 languages, if not 6.
Yes, he does. He does. He's very good. He's
yeah.
That's nothing like me. Or I'm nothing like him. But never mind. So, we've got to talk about your MBE. Oh, sorry, Marcia.
Sorry, no, I'm so sorry. I didn't mean to cut
No,
you.
go ahead.
I was really interested, you know, firstly, I did see the Windrush movement of the people was absolutely phenomenal. Loved it. One of the things that I wanted to just you know, one of the things that I know that you're very passionate about women and very passionate about, you know, sort of people being, you know, and people of colour being involved in the arts. What are your thoughts then on women in dance? Do you think we've got enough? What are your thoughts?
You know what is really interesting about that question? No, it's a good question, because when we look at the dance industry, it is full at the very early stages. The majority of those participants are women. Right. The kids generally, the teachers, you get to it and it's women. And then you start to move yourself up the ladder, and the majority of the directors and leaders of companies are men. So it for me, it's you know, I'm one of the very few that are actually, as a woman director, especially of a contemporary dance company, international contemporary dance company. And so the numbers are very, very small. But I think what is you know, there's been arguments to say that women are not as ambitious. There are arguments to say that they don't have the same drive, their careers when they have stop and have children. And so all of these things, for me, I had an opportunity to impact whilst I was a leader that's actually broken the mold in terms of being able to say, as a female leader, I don't just make work, I can impact the maternity pay. I can impact the way that dancers have career development and how they might want to change careers, so I can have those conversations as well. I can bring women into my organization that helps to elevate and the visibility of it. So there's a lot of things that perhaps in terms of policy making and being able to say, well, actually, this really isn't quite the leveling up, which we've been trying to address for many, many years, isn't quite happening because quite frankly, there aren't enough women that are leading contemporary dance companies. And there's this whole thing around that actually, you know, even the classical companies, very few women. Monica Mason, I think, is probably one of the only of the Royal Ballet, but you know, there's for the amount of companies that we have, there should at least be a 50-50, considering when you look at the numbers of how many women start and you look into those classrooms and see how many young girls are actually dancing. But then when you see the leadership, it doesn't equate. So there is something around empowering women to feel that they have a place and that they feel that they can have children and go back into the workplace. Absolutely. So yeah, so there's a big job to be done. I can't say that it's a visible change that's enough, but let's keep going because there are changes that are happening.
Wow, that's
Like
excellent.
in so many industries as well, though, don't you? And there's, when I worked corporately, there was this thing that, you know, when a guy goes for an interview, he might not know everything, but he's like, well, I'll go and I'll just go and do it and do the interview anyway. Whereas the women tend to, not, I don't want to generalize, but women tend to, I've got to know everything. I've got to know this, I've got to know that. And actually, if I don't, maybe I shouldn't go for the interviews, where guys will just generally just go for it. And it's kind of getting over that a little bit as well, isn't it? And feeling that fear, like they're saying, I'm really just going for it. So yeah, we need some more Sharons and Leslies and
You may find that actually what tends to happen is when you do go for a job or actually you're going into a discussion, the women will always find the things that perhaps they need, their checklist is twice as long as the men.
Yeah.
It will always be the kind of things that go, oh, but I haven't got this.
Yeah.
Actually, and there's nobody usually sitting on your shoulder going, but you have got that, and you've got that, and you've got that. That one you can figure that one out.
Yeah.
So if you have got someone that you can talk to, because I did this with my coach, and I said, I'm questioning the skills that I've got to go for this job that I have. I don't have this, and I don't. So okay, let's stop there. Let's stop right there. Yeah. So tell me what you do have, and you start to measure the skills that you have and actually actively are delivering. So you go, okay, those things I can learn. The things that I think, around HE in a way that I think I can learn that and I can figure how to make that happen. But when you talk about the skills, and people tend to generalize them as soft skills, but your emotional intelligence can sometimes be your biggest leader and support because of the ability to have that sensitivity around people, conversations, and to test a room. When your gut is telling you something, then you know what? I think we all have it at times. Listen. Listen.
Yeah. That is so true. That is so true. I won't tell you what happened to me today, but yeah, that is so true. So Sharon, tell us about you've got absolutely loads of awards, but tell us about the MBE. What does this award mean to you?
As with many of the others, I just think it's, I look at the award and I think, okay, so somebody's been paying attention. Thank you very much for that. You've been paying attention because I've been driving a change, and I think that's been acknowledged. I've been driving engagement. I've been driving my passion, which I believe that everybody can have a way that enables them to do more than they currently do, to facilitate what I think is working against the norm, but on a broader sense. There isn't really that position that I take that there is no word as can't. Let's figure out how we can do it first before it actually really does fall off the table. So, some of the things will come out with a magnitude of success, and others will impact one person. And even at that one person level, yeah, I say therefore it's worth it. You see the impact of your actions coming through further down the line. So to have this MBE, I think has kind of said to me, carry on doing what you're doing. And actually where you now can level up and walk into a room where you're actually dealing with politicians, you're dealing with high flyers, you're dealing with business people, that says, you know, something, I still know what I'm talking about. And actually it tends to be that you can respect, even if you don't want to respect me as a female, or if you don't want to respect me as a black female at that, then I hold an MBE which actually says there's some credibility around what I do. And, you know, if I can use it to leverage change even more so and to speed up the impact, then that's what it's going to do. It's going to be moving and mobilizing. It's going to be busy, and it's going to be absolutely impactful. So it's got a job to do.
Woo!
I
Wow.
think of ways that I can get your name on any funding that we go for. I go, do you know I know Sharon? Not MBE. That's what Anyway, let's get some of the comments from your audience out there. So you're getting lots of loves. Zena says there's definitely an air of humility. It's absolutely beautiful. We've got some questions somewhere. Paula's talked about how inspirational you are, which is so true. Marina says, can she ask what your plans are for Northern in this COVID time?
For me, I have just made sure that I reach out to all the students. I mean, if you believe, I've been in the job now for 7 months and I actually haven't met all the students face to face. So my Zoom meetings are about encouraging and supporting and trying to put some reality around what the industry is saying so that they understand that they're equipped for what it is that the future holds, which is very, very different. But to help keep their confidence, because they're going to be needed. Those students are absolutely vital to the transition of our world that we have right now. Within creativity, it's the one thing that we've all relied on. It's the one thing, hopefully, I believe, I mean, I think it's a very strong conduit for change. So when I communicate with the students, this is the kind of conversation I have with them under COVID. I can't predict when we're over COVID, but I want to know that they are resilient and that they walk with confidence, because actually, and they could ask questions, because ultimately nobody has the answers.
No.
But if you don't take the opportunity to say to them, the doors are open, and actually where you need help, you need to ask for it. We have a range of students at the Northern, you know, some of them are vulnerable, some of them are international students, but each of them need different things. And if I can hold on to them, all of them, including the staff, because they're also part of this process, change is inevitable and we will get through change together. But I don't want to lose anyone along the way. So we have to keep communicating and we have to keep believing that we can make a change. The future for Northern is really bright as far as I'm concerned, that we will have a future. We might have to go quiet in order to respect what's happening out there, but ultimately our space can become to the benefit of more than just my students. And who knows, maybe it is the very community project that we need to get everybody back into action and get everybody back feeling confident and being driven by our students. We can do all of this. So yeah, the future for the Northern, I think, is, you know, the next couple of years, we've taken a financial hit, as with everybody. We've put in new ventilation systems, which wasn't anticipated. We didn't expect that. We've put in new heating systems to accommodate the whole COVID scenario. We've even increased the staff in terms of the amount of work that we've had to do around COVID. So we're swelling rather than shrinking. And that's an unusual place to say that we're actually spending more so than cutting back. We've not furloughed apart from one member of staff, which was in a very different department, in the kind of commercial department. But all of our staff are working, our teachers are working, we've paid everyone, and these things are important. We feed everyone at lunchtime. There's a hot meal provided for our students, even if they're not in the building. We have food packages if people need it. We look at digital support that we might send out. Just communicate with us so that we can support you, because believe me, nobody asked for this COVID business, and we have to figure out how we stand strong and get through it. Not everyone has the same resilience. So if I can be of that support, if I can be the shoulders that people can stand on, then absolutely that's my job over the next few years.
Wow, that's fantastic.
If you need any help from a young people's coach, I know a really good one.
Well,
say that again, Karen.
Need any help from a young people's coach, I know a really, really good one.
So do I.
2020 has been, sorry,
there's just one question from Zena saying, how important do you feel it is for women in leadership to have a coach?
Yep. I think if you, and you know, I mean, the word coach is kind of, it's kind of loaded in for people in different ways. You might want to describe it as someone who you can talk to, a coach, a mentor, a friend, however you describe them, find that person.
Yeah.
Because there are days, I'm not going to lie, there are days when I think, oh my God, how do I actually make this work? Or I have this particular challenge, and I've had some real challenges in the last 4 years of my leadership with Phoenix. I've had some massive challenges. One day when I get around to writing the book, you'll be like, really? Is that what's happened? It'd be like, yeah, that is exactly what's happened. But you know, it's by having that person that says, and you can do this, you can deal with this. It's the, you know, the kind of iceberg effect where actually on the outside you feel you're like this, and on the inside there's this massive iceberg underneath that you're chipping away at, and actually you can chip away at it. And that coach, that mentor, that person that you go, is that me? Can you see me doing this? Or have I made this mistake? Have I done this? And you question yourself to the point where you start to withdraw. It's like, no, let's go, let's kind of readdress this in a way that says, this is what you've done. And that's the consequence of it. Oh, okay. Yeah, I'm happy with that. That's a result. So I think if you can find that person that sometimes is just either reflective or can question, then yeah, you've got a real friend there. You've got a real support.
Yeah, no, that's so true, because 2020 has been so hard for a lot of us to get through it. And I know, like with Black Lives Matters, and also Diversity did a really fantastic dance to talk about or to show Black Lives Matters. What did that performance mean to you? Because it got a lot of bad press. What did that mean to you, Sharon?
I would say we should have been on the television every week from there on.
Absolutely,
It's,
absolutely.
honestly, I just find it hard that people don't understand that we haven't had equality for such a long time.
Yeah.
We're not asking for more than we deserve. Nobody is. But all we're asking for is the basic human rights. And if we can't agree on that, then we've got we have issues anyway. We've got some major challenges. And, you know, some of the experiences that I've had about people being in denial, it's frustrating. It does anger me, but in a way, you can't fight those problems with anger. We know that the systems that have been created, they've been created to produce what they've always done. So once you understand that, you don't go in there with tools that are not going to fix that problem, because we don't have those tools. We need new systems. We need new ways of working and communicating. If you can get yourself around the table to be talking to people, and I often say I kind of talk with a small p in terms of politics, but actually it is impactful. It is about the politics. You have to go in there and say, meet me in this uncomfortable space, because I've lived my life here. Now just take a moment to meet me here and let's talk this conversation. Because, and if I'm being very literal, when we're talking about the whole Black Lives Matter thing, and I've done it with my staff, I have to ask them, what do you know about your whiteness? What really do you understand about it? What privileges does it provide for you that you are not actually really deploying in a way that's positive and useful? So let's talk about it and let's meet in the middle, because we have students that need your support. It's not only about the Black people fixing this problem. The white people have this issue to deal with as well. So let's help each other to fix what we know we want to fix. And it's not easy. Sometimes it's hard for people to even say the word Black. I was like, well, guys, you can't sit there talking to me and not see that I'm a Black female. So just let's talk about it. You need to be able to call me a Black woman and feel proud about it. There's nothing wrong with me. So don't load it with negativity. Load it with what you see in front of you, that Black women, Black people have a positive side and are very encouraging, and all of the things that we know are embedded within Black people. We are so generous in terms of what we were able to offer. And actually, if you understand that, you begin to change how you say the word Black. You're not saying it because we're an enemy.
Yeah.
And just the language in itself, we have to begin to kind of dissolve that and understand that it can cause so many, well, it does cause so many issues, but let's kind of start in that middle no man's land where we can be very open and honest with each other.
Yeah, definitely, definitely. Wow, that was just so powerful and passionate. Where do you get all your inspiration from? Where do you find that?
Wow. Well, there's inspiration in this room, that's for sure. And I observe, I observe what's happening. I hear what's happening with other people. I wish I could do more. Very often when I hear someone's on a mission to change, on a mission to action, I kind of wish sometimes, my God, I wish I had just a bit more energy or a bit more that I could go. But you know, social media for me is interesting to digest, to see what's going on. It does feed you, but you also need to know when to switch off. I speak to a lot. My coach is fantastic. I don't think it's the kind of thing where, just have a read of that. And we might not speak for another few weeks, but just have a read of that. That's really helpful. The books you read are inspiring. I don't tend to watch a lot of TV, to be fair. The last thing I watched was Greenleaf, which was so inspiring. I just loved it. I loved it.
Yeah.
And it was the tenacity of people for me that just says, okay, what are you taking from this program, which is kind of, glossed up in American idealisms in a way, but it has an undercurrent message. And I think sometimes prizing to find that undercurrent message is the thing that drives me. And I have a lot of people that actually do respond to conversation, which is absolutely inspiring. So it comes from many, many places. I have debates. You probably saw my husband pop in earlier, and we have these debates about how we change the world and what's different and what's wrong with it. And it's just sometimes just the one word that can make such a difference, and you hold on to that.
Yeah. No, that's brilliant.
We've got a question here. It's quite broad. It's from Paula, and she says, do you ever think there's more to be done for people, Sharon, and what should be done? So it is very broad, but if you've got a view on that at all.
Do I ever think that there is more to be done?
People, and what should be done. It is very broad.
If I understand the question correctly, I think sometimes we think we sometimes anticipate what we want rather than what we need. And there is a kind of, it's a very fine line in terms of thinking of what we want, which is not always what's best for us, but what we absolutely need, which, when you start to unpick that, you begin to find out actually you can have things that you want as a result of the things that you need. And so, you swell your platform with the necessities. And some of that very often is in the human kind of relationships that we hold with each other, the respect that we have for life and therefore for each other, but also the journey that we're on. I mean, our youngsters, and Karen, I think you'll know this very much so about, the education that we pass on to our younger generation is about the positivity. It has to be about the positivity, because for so long, we've only ever been taught a history that has had such a massive part of it missing. And so when we're talking about looking at what's different, when I speak to my kids around the fact that actually, no, it's not just about this, let's have a look at all of the other things that you can become, that we can achieve, that we have done and we have achieved. It's not about just wanting to kind of facilitate the narrative that already exists. There is a need for you to understand historical context to how we've got to do what we've done. And that's positive. Yeah. So yeah, there is a very different way in which I would kind of unpick all of that in terms of what we need and what we want.
Yeah, and again, obviously I do agree, certainly from an education side, and from us being very young, it is about that. It's about your self-talk and who you surround yourself with, and actually realizing the talent that you have. And when we do our work, we'll pick the smallest thing that someone's good at. I've got a young boy who's really good at Minecraft, but we've shown him how his focus, his tenacity, his practice, how he's worked out strategies, how you can use those same skills to be better at maths. And he's like, oh yeah, can't I miss? And we're like, yeah. So it's just unpicking the talents that we all already have that we kind of overlook. They say when you're good at something, you don't even realize you are, because it comes to you so easy. So we go, you're amazing at this, because look, you've done this and this, and I couldn't even I can't play Minecraft. But I think it is just about uplifting each other a little bit more and realizing those skills and strengths that we have.
And staying positive. Wow. Stay positive within yourself. Don't use that chimp to be knocking yourself down, and talk to yourself nicely to keep empowering you to believe that you can achieve and do more. So yeah, I do that every day. I love it.
It is important. It's vital. In fact, it's like eating a meal every day. When you think, because we've had so much negativity in our narrative, when I was at school, the films that the films and the role models were of roots and various negative connotations around our history. And actually, what we do understand, I have to mention this. I went on the Heritage Walk with Joe Williams, and I kid you not, I actually paid for the whole company to go on that. I bought him for the day to say just for the company, for Phoenix, every single member, including our board members, this is a day where I want you to go and learn about this history. because it is vital. There's a massive gap in our knowledge and understanding. Now, Joe Williams' walk, if you've not done it yet, goodness, if we can ever get around to having it again, I said, we just had to do it. I went home and I spoke to my family about it. We didn't know about it. My brother went twice, my sister went, and I'm just thinking, that kind of education is impactful and inspiring.
Yeah.
But it's not, and you know, for those, the company is mixed. We have white, Asian, Black in the company. The understanding that they said that how I fit into this is important. Yeah, as a white person, how you fit into this is vital, because we are working together. You stand side by side in terms of our vision. You have to understand how you're supporting this narrative. So there is a place for you. There is a job for you to do. But my God, it was just mind-blowing to think how much positivity and how much impact and how special we can become. Not how special we were, but how much more we can become. So yeah, it's moments like that I just go, I can live off that for a few years.
Yeah.
That's
Well,
fabulous.
I spoke to Joe. Sorry, Karen. I spoke to Joe a couple of weeks ago. Well, a couple of months ago now. He came on this platform, and he was talking about his. It was on Leslie Starts a Conversation, and he was talking about and showing us his route, and it was just fantastic. But because obviously of lockdown, you know, we can't do it. But yeah, I didn't know about it, and it was a friend who mentioned him, and I was like, oh wow, this is amazing. So yeah, definitely need to do that. Definitely.
So Sharon, a really good question here from Nicola Sterling. She says, she asks, Sharon, is there anything you could go back and tell your younger self when you first started out in your career?
I love that.
Absolutely. There's loads I would tell myself. I would tell myself that being fearless isn't a negative attitude. I would tell myself to ask the question, to not be fearful of asking the question. I would say to myself, and I say it now, I use it now, that actually if there's a door that's slightly ajar, then just push it a little bit more. You never know, you might end up on the other side of it, which is always helpful if that's where you want to go. And I would say that, you know, you know more than you think, even though you don't know the answers, you know more than you think. So a combination of those things to just be able to say it's okay to be wrong. It's okay to just not know. And I always, even now, I think it's all right for me not to know, but to have the confidence to ask the question, because I think knowledge, of course, is power. And just to have that knowledge a little bit earlier would probably help me to make my journey a little easier in terms of the pace, perhaps, and also the clarity that you might need within a particular area of discussion or disagreement. You might just find that actually that bit of clarity would just send you in the right direction. So yeah, my younger self would be having all of those kind of questions. And the fact that we now have to be fearless, I feel, yeah, I've kind of waited a long time to sort of say I have to be fearless, because there are some others that are marginalized in terms of not being able to be in that room or have the opportunity to ask a question. And actually, you've put yourself there, you have that responsibility to more than yourself. So yeah, get on with it.
Wow, brilliant answer. And you know what, Sharon, right? Honestly, you on this platform for us, this is just absolutely fantastic, because there's so many, and it's so nice, you know, a black woman, MBE. I mean, wow, on this platform talking to us and inspiring us, it's just fantastic. I'm sat here with my mouth open, making my notes, and like thinking, yeah, you know, we've got to go for it. What are we
Yeah.
waiting for? Be
Yeah.
fearless. And if you don't know, go and find out, but move forward with your life, and why not? This is our time. You know, wow, thank you so much. Just brilliant, brilliant. Any more questions, ladies? I want to ask one more.
I think that's it for questions on here right now, but any more could pop up, so I'd be quick if I was you, Leslie.
So, I know you went to Hair Hills. I know we're going to go back a little bit. You went to Hair Hills Middle, and you did. I want to talk about your dancing, about the ballet, and you know how you get your bodies to do that, and you know what is that? It's just like when you watch a dance,
Yeah.
can just sit there and your mouth is just open and the dancers tell a story. I mean, all that movement, I just find it fascinating.
So do I.
My dancers tell a story, I can tell you.
How do you get your body to do all that?
You know, there's a lot to be admired about the dancer's body, the physicality of it, the intellect of the body, you know, the fact that actually it pushes itself to such extremes. It becomes robust, it becomes creative, it becomes expressive. And I think we take it for granted sometimes that how much we contain in the physicality of what we do. You know, at the age of 9, when my sister came home, when I was 9, actually, just before, in fact, probably a bit earlier, in fact, she would have been 9, sorry, and just said she was dancing. She said, "Oh, I did this at school today. Can you do it?" And I was like, "Oh, let me give it a go." And boom, there it was. I was like, "Wow, that's nice." And then, "Can we did this as well today? Can you do this?" And I thought, you know, she was just teasing me all the time. And I could not wait until I got into that space. And I don't know what it was I was wanted to kind of experience when I got there, but I just fell in love with the fact that my body could do things for me.
Yeah.
And if, you know, people say they use it to express themselves. I didn't actually know whether I was expressing myself. I just felt that there was an ownership around the movement, the ability to move, and knowing that actually when I did something, other people felt something from it.
Yeah.
And with that as a combination of kind of matching that with other people that have the same passion, you just begin to realize actually what you really want to do is to push your body to the maximum. And so, you know, within 3 years of physical training as to be a professional, there are days when you get out of bed and you can't walk. And that's real. I remember my first job, in my first job, I did this work, which was aerial work, which was hanging from a theatre grid. The aerial work, and it was a 45-minute dance number where I had to swing around in the air dancing, and it was contemporary dance on ropes, which is not circus. It was very, very different. And we've never done more than 3 nights on a row. So each night you'd go and you get your treatment, and we had a 5-night run. And honestly, night 4, I was in the ropes just thinking, right, so, okay, I'm pretty fit and I'm pretty healthy, but 4 nights, my body's feeling it.
Yeah.
Now, I don't know if I can hold on to this rope for much longer. If I fall to my right, I'll probably break my right side and fall onto if I fall on I must remember how to fall properly so that I get the maximum impact of breakage. And that's what I spent the 45 minutes in the air figuring out. How am I supposed to kind of get out of the air without damaging myself, or the minimum amount of damage? I did 5 nights. I was fine. I did 5 nights. And I'm not going to lie, it was hard, but it was, your body is able to do that. And you kind of look back at those moments and go, wow, that's quite phenomenal, that we can put our bodies through that. And of course, the audiences that connect with that are just so passionate about what we do. And, you know, the years of touring with Phoenix were pretty phenomenal, where I remember coming at the Jamaica Stadium, we went and toured to Jamaica, and we couldn't get out the stadium. We couldn't get out the bus, just the kids were at the bus, and we were there for a good few hours whilst we ended up getting out of the bus and talking to them. And it's like, we can inspire to this level. And, you know, we did many, many nights, and your body is resilient, but you have to know how to look after your body.
Yeah.
You really do. Otherwise, your career, most dancers can collect a pension at 30, 35, which is like the footballers. So, you know, it's a very short-lived career, and we do kind of impact and take a lot of work during that period of time. So, yeah, you have to balance that. But I love it. And now that I'm not dancing, I just love to see the others that are dancing. And I think when they take that curtain call, I think, yeah, that's my curtain call as well. So
Yeah.
it works for me.
Yeah.
Brilliant.
The Windrush, your Windrush. I mean, I haven't seen it, and so just talk us through the Windrush. What was that like, directing that dance?
You know, it was probably one of the easiest pieces of work I've had to put onto the stage. But it wasn't easy in terms of the fact that actually the kind of creative team that I had around me, I had to change my musical director, my composer, because they were just a very different way of working. And I ended up working with Stella Littress, who was only initially there as a support. In the end, she ended up writing that music for me. And I was like, you know, I bless God for my small mercies, because she was just phenomenal. And, you know, I was able to meet Alfred Gardner, he's 93 now. And he came in and he gave me the kind of the real conversations around what it was like for him. And when he saw the work, he was just very, very complimentary, but giving some critique around it. I was introduced to Leeds Black elders who were able to come and critique the work for me and say, yes, I feel this, I recognize that. Oh my God, look at this. My mum, who was, you know, it was based on my mum's story. So it was coming from a very real place. Yeah. And my sisters, you know, my sisters and brothers who were part of that narrative. But of course, when you're making theatre work, you kind of have to broaden and make it kind of connected. But it started from a very, very real place of honesty and empowerment. It brought me to Parliament 3 times. You know, talking to government around this particular subject and getting them to understand actually it's an impactful piece of work that you don't have to have any conversation around, just watch it. You'll understand what people are saying, what people are feeling. And they did. Quite a number of them came to the theatre in London and saw the work. It's now on a platform, a film. I have a film, which I just think I never dreamt of in my whole career that would be the case. Wow. But it's a film, and the work itself has just been so insightful. And, you know, one of the things I would love to achieve with it is that it actually fits onto the syllabus, the school curriculum, in terms of theatre works, dance performances, that the young people can see it because it's positive, it's impactful, and actually it's layered with information. Yeah. There's resource there that we would ordinarily might not get, but it's another way in which we can communicate, and I just love it. Every time I hear the opening track, I just go, I didn't think it could impact me even 2018, how many 3 years later, and it does.
Wow. Oh, I want to see it. I want to see this.
Fabulous. Really good. Did you see it, Karen? Yeah, it was really good. It was really good. Actually, one of the things you said, like with that performance, you know, it was, you understood it straight away, and I think most people seeing that would understand the narrative. One of the questions that I was going to ask, actually, I mean, something like that is easily understood. Do people need to have any specialist knowledge before they come and see a performance generally?
For dance, I sometimes feel that we don't help ourselves because it has no words. And, you know, you can have abstract dance as you can have abstract work, and in theatres and in galleries, etc., which don't always have a strong, clear narrative. But then you can have works that are actually, I mean, the classical world, they really literally talk to you step for step and how it's working. Within contemporary dance, we have the ability to do all of that and some. And I think for Windrush, I set out to make a piece that was accessible. And I say in the most positive way that accessibility was that I didn't really kind of set out to talk to my own Black people because they very much connected to the Windrush story, the narrative. Most people know about it in some form. Yeah. And I suppose the other cultures was a way of inviting them in to say, look, this is what is happening. This is what we've had. This is the experience of our people. So I didn't want to create something that was so ambiguous that they needed to write and read a script before they turned up and then go, actually, what does that mean? It's like, you can look at it. Some people said, was it a musical? Well, it didn't have vocals in it. So no, it wasn't a musical. Was it an abstract? No, it wasn't. It was really quite, for some people, they just didn't quite know where it sat because it wasn't only contemporary. It wasn't jazz. It had calypso. It had all of this amalgamation of qualities. And I just think that's exactly what I set out to do. It was a celebration at the end of it with a very keen message in the middle that was kind of, you know, so poignant. I went to bed one night when I was making the work. I went to bed and I said, I have to understand how I get into this production, the no Blacks, no dogs, no Irish. And I woke up the next morning, I kid you not, this is no lie. I woke up the next morning and the piece, I could see it. I saw everything. So that whole 20-minute session of the washing line with the no Blacks, no dogs, and then it turned into blood. And I saw the whole thing. And it took me 5 days to actually orchestrate it because it's quite complex with the washing lines and then the changing of the names and the words and the characters. And it took me a week to put that together because it was so clear in my mind and it was ready. Yeah. So sometimes you don't need to have that kind of narrative, but for others, I think it helps sometimes if we can be a little clearer in what it is that we're wanting an audience to take away from a production.
Wow.
A few people are asking Sharon how they can see the film.
At the moment, it's actually on Marquee TV, which is a paid platform which services Canada and America, although we can get it here. It's a subscription site, and they have the rights to that up until, I think it's this summer, into May, where I think then it comes back to me, at which point I can decide where it actually goes and how we utilize it. But at the moment, they have got exclusive rights to it, whilst it's over on that platform. So you can actually subscribe to Marquee TV. And then beyond that, I will definitely have to think about sharing the work, because I just need everybody to see it as much as possible.
Yeah, I want to see it, definitely. I want to see it. Oh, that's brilliant. That sounds, I'm just like in awe. I'm just like, oh my God, this is amazing.
I'd love to restage the work, I have to say, to be honest, because I think, Marcy, you might, it was only 45 minutes, 50 minutes in its length. It's got 2 sections missing. And actually, we're 75 years in 2023. So I'd love to restage the work. I'd love to have a bigger cast.
Excellent.
I'd love to have,
Oh
you know, if it's at all possible to be able to do that and to kind of really give it another outing and to acknowledge what it is that it's done and what it can do. So, yeah, I'm going to have to think hard about that one.
Well, if anyone can make that possible, I think I know someone like you.
Fantastic.
Yeah, it's probably doable, and have a I didn't get the community cast part of it delivered in the first stage, but I'd love to be able to make that work as well. To have my elders dancing, to have my young community dancing, to have my choir dancing, you know, to have local people sort of being part of that narrative in celebrating 75 years of Windrush. It feels right.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I'm in.
I'm in.
Have I got a cast? I've got a cast.
Yeah, I can see.
Yeah, genuinely. Don't joke.
No, I'm genuinely will be
Do
there.
anything. Remember, hashtag role model. I'm not joking.
Sharon, can you sing?
I can sing a bit. Ask Marcy. I sang to you this morning, didn't I, Marcy?
You did, yeah. She's got a good voice, you know. Yes.
Okay.
I think I remember a couple of moves when I was at Hare Hill, so that should be all right.
Marcia, you're going to need to give me more than a couple. I ain't got a show with a couple of moves.
I'm sure I could do, yeah. But I'm up for it anyway.
Well, listen, Marcia taught me, you know, everyone could do candy for the last 30, 40 years. Marcia taught me candy, was it 4 years ago, Marcia, in my front room? I was like, I can do candy now, yeah.
Wow.
My brother taught me, actually. My brother taught me how to do candy.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was a bit late. I'm a late starter, but never mind.
Yeah, so am I.
That's also an important dance, isn't it?
Yeah,
it is, definitely.
everything now.
Yeah.
Sharon, who is your supermodel? Your superhero?
I'll have to start with my mum. And I give her thanks. She's a very understated woman. She's incredibly articulate in her views and her points. When she asks me a question, I better know what the answer is, because she's asking me for a reason. But at the same time, you know, we can have a laugh and a cry around things. And I think she's given me some values that will never leave me. And I hope I pass on to others, and in particular my own children. You know, there are women in my life that I find so inspirational at different points. And I think it's the understanding that actually I might not speak to you for 2 years, but ultimately there is something about just saying, I don't need you to speak right now, I just need you to listen. And they understand where I'm coming from. My coach is one of those women, absolutely unbelievable. And I have, it's people come into your life for different reasons at different times. And there is the residue that they kind of leave with you is something you nurture, but you don't necessarily need all the time. So I have different women that do that for me. And, you know, I mean, I very strongly my family, I have to be honest. And like I say, my husband, I'm trying not to name, because there are quite a lot of women that I just think, actually, I needed you at that time and you stayed with me for so long. So thank you very much. There are a few men that have done that for me too, that kind of have not tried to sort of, I wouldn't say upstage or question, but just understand the journey of a female, in that a Black female. And sometimes the best thing that they can do is to really just try and cradle the support. So it changes. And, you know, Nadine Senior has been impactful. She will always be there. And I think because of her unselfish approach to understanding it's never about her, that I think that messaging for me resonates with me very strongly, because she's just been there since the age of 9 for me. And up until she passed 3 years ago, you know, I have her file right behind me as I'm speaking to go through, because you know, information that I've yet to kind of work through. And she gave me the policies book of the school. I kind of finding things now that are becoming so significant. When I got the job, I found a photograph of the two of us when I was there. I think I was 14 years old.
Wow.
On the very day that I got the job, which I just, you know, divine intervention, whatever it is, it was a message, and I've taken it as such. I have taken it as a kind of, okay, this is confirmation that things are happening. So yeah, I just think there are women that probably are also women that's quite happily stand in the shadows and do their job, but do it phenomenally well. And again, for those, I mean, I hope I don't forget to thank them as well for just doing what they do in terms of the power that they have, but they don't have the visibility in the same way. So many women and a handful of men.
Wow.
Nice.
Well, thank you so much, Sharon. I really appreciate it. And Karen, have we got any more questions?
We've had a lot of hearts flying in.
Oh,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah, people
Sharon, would
saying
you like
hi.
to ask us a question?
Hello.
I think, interestingly enough, you know, as phenomenal women yourself, you know, we always kind of sometimes have a mission to try and do what we do. But for 2021, how would you say is your kind of your next steps in your journey, and what do you hope will be impactful as you move forward? You all do different things, of course, but in your relative in your careers at this moment in time, what do you think 2021 will be for you? How would you like to measure that in terms of impact?
Well, Sharon, I haven't achieved my degree yet. So I am working to do my degree. I started my course last year and I am just super excited. I've always held myself back, didn't believe that I could actually do a degree, and now I'm here doing a degree. So I am just super excited about that. I've left Leeds, I live in Manchester, and I'm having a fantastic time. I'm a journalist, I'm a presenter. This is my dream, this is my passion, and this is where I'm going. 2021, whoa, I've got big dreams, but they say don't let them out. Hold on to them and work to them. So I'm working towards my dreams at the moment, yeah, and my goals. Thank you, brilliant question. I love that.
Sharon?
Well, Leslie says not to talk them out, but I talk mine out all the time. So I have a coach, and my girl, she always talks to me about numbers. What are the numbers for your business? How many young people do you want to reach this year? How many lives do you want to change in terms of our young people? And I was like, this year I think 500. And she's like, you need to put another note on the end of that. So, and then I spoke to Case, the guy that's built my website, and he went, no, we need to put another note on that. So we're looking at 50,000 children. How can we help 50,000 children in 2021 in all the ways that we can? And Marcia knows that one of the things I'm trying to do is to improve on my technical skills, doing more podcasts, YouTube, and just getting our voice out there and letting people know what we do with Flourish Minds, because all we do is find that spark and really enlighten it and magnify it in every single child we meet, particularly our Black children, but when we don't discriminate, we're there for all children. But yeah, I've got a goal of 50,000 children this year that we are going to impact their lives positively. I've spoken it out. Sharon, help
me. and congratulations on your recent awards. I think that will also help. But you know, and those that are listening, including myself, then yeah, let's help you. Let's make that an achievement. That shouldn't be a difficult thing for us all collectively to achieve. So there are more than 50,000 children that need your support.
Absolutely. Thank you so much.
Marcia.
Yeah, for me, this year that's just gone has been a really, really big year for me, in that so many things have changed for me. I've transitioned from sort of what I've always done to forming my own business. And that's around supporting women who feel like they're not enough, who've experienced domestic violence, emotional trauma, So that is my work. This year is about expanding that. This year it's about having programs reaching more and more women, raising the awareness about emotional trauma caused through toxic relationships. And actually, as you were talking, I'm quite inspired. I did actually have a chat with Wayne Martin, my brother, because I'm very much interested in something called narrative medicine. And within that, it's about creativity. And I'm actually thinking that in order, for a big healing project, that is something that I'd like to do for 2021. And I might have to come and talk to you about that, actually, Sharon.
Yeah.
You know where I am.
After me, sorry.
After me.
I know, but yeah, that's my vision for 2021, to really highlight those issues, because particularly around narcissistic abuse, emotional trauma, that's not spoken about so much as domestic violence, because everybody knows about that, and there is still lots of work to be done around that. But the emotional impact of things like coercive control, not a lot of information is out there, and we need to be raising awareness around that. So
absolutely. Yeah, and we need to be interviewing more people. I don't know how we work it, because we're on here once a week, and there's so many people who are doing absolutely fantastic work, and we want to hear more stories, and I'd like to do this like 3 times a week, but then it's just juggling it all to do it. So I'm working on it. I'm working on that, definitely.
Yeah, I think the important thing really is about hearing people's stories, because, Sharon talked about earlier that, we've all got haters, but there you go. I use mine to drive me and motivate me.
Absolutely.
Hate me now. You ain't seen nothing yet. I've just started.
Exactly.
And it's, it is about pulling together and just really going out there and not letting that fear, hold us back. And between us four, we're so formidable. But it is about hearing your story. So Sharon, it's not been easy. Where I've come from, leaving school with nothing and being totally written off when I was at high school, told I was rubbish and had no chance of doing anything. People hear my story, people hear your story, Leslie, Marcia. Just these 4 stories are enough to really inspire people out there. But so many of us have got these stories that I used to be ashamed of mine, but actually they need to be told. And but I think it is using platforms like this, Leslie, to
absolutely
help.
I haven't told my story to the world because, like Karen just said, sometimes you do feel ashamed of what's happened. And being dyslexic, I've always held that because I was embarrassed that I couldn't read properly. I was embarrassed that I couldn't write properly, spell correctly. And so I kept that to myself, but I'm not doing that anymore. I'm not doing that. I've put myself doing a degree journalism where I've got to write. I've got to write now. So I'm pushing myself forward. So so I'm going to be sharing my story. Let me tell everybody. I am going to be sharing my story with you all on Sunday, the 24th of January. So please tune in then. Oh my God, be easy, ladies. Easy. All right.
So Marcia and I will be doing the interview. So I would say, Leslie, is be afraid.
Be very
Yeah, we'll be good. We'll be nice.
The thing is, you're already empowered, Leslie, because it's your story.
Exactly.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I was getting all emotional then, every time I talk about it. So it's like, just calm your emotions down, girl. But thank you so much, Sharon. Honestly, I'm just overwhelmed. I'm so happy. I'm so thankful and so grateful that you're on this platform.
Yeah.
And I know that you have inspired us, so many women, boys, girls, dancers, everyone.
Absolutely.
With your story, amazing story, and thank you so much. Well appreciated.
Thank you. I just want to say thank you for the invitation, and I will always try and have my door open where possible. And sometimes it's a text message, sometimes it's a DM on the social media. It might not be a long conversation, but it's always useful to just try and reach out, because I also need the support. I will continue to need the guidance and the help. And the work I do is for the greater good always. This journey is never something you do on your own. So I also want to thank those that have taken that journey with me, and to appreciate that you don't always get the kind of same sort of recognition, but I absolutely appreciate what you've done to support me along the way.
Oh, thank you, brilliant. Karen, would you like to say anything? Marcy, would you like to say anything before we go?
I'm almost speechless. That's like a first in my life. I'm just overwhelmed, and I knew it would be a great interview. Like I said, I've followed Sharon for a little while now, and I just think you are formidable, and like I said, in the most gracious, humble way, and you really are genuinely a role model, and I'm just, well done. Well done.
Thank you. I second that, actually. Yeah, you are a phenomenal woman, and we are truly blessed, actually, to have had you on this platform.
Absolutely.
And just to hear you share. And as Karen said, you are so humble, you're formidable, you get the job done, but it's done from the heart. This is the thing, it's the heart-centered work that you do, and you're just blessing so many people. And I just want to, we thank you for that. We commend you. Thank you.
Absolutely. Thank you so much. And to our viewers, thank you so much for tuning in. We so appreciate you. Well, we're back now every week. I know we've had our Christmas break, but we are back. The Real Table Talk is back every other week. So the next time is the 20th.
Week after next.
I don't know dates anymore.
I can't work it out. We'll see you back in 2 weeks.
Yeah.
If you have a conversation, I am back on Sunday. I have got an absolutely brilliant guest. Oh my goodness. I'm so pleased to have him to come on my platform, a male. And yeah, he is gonna so inspire you out there. He really is. So tune in next week Sunday, 5 o'clock. But thank you so much, Sharon. Thank you, ladies and guys. We will see you next week. When you watch this video, don't be shy. Share it. Sharing is caring. Okay, share it. You've got my YouTube channel. Just subscribe. Don't be shy. Oh my God, I nearly forgot. I never forgot. Guys, you have got to join me on Thursday, 6 p.m. this Thursday, the 14th of January, 6 p.m. I asked Mr. Les Brown if I could interview him, and he said yes. He said yes. He said yes. The godfather of motivation is I am going to be interviewing him this Thursday, 6 p.m, 14th of January. Tune in. Let's start a conversation. Woo-hoo! I am so excited about that. Thank you so much for tuning in, and we will see you Thursday.
Thank you.
Bye. Thank you, everyone. Sharon, stay there.